Welcome. Please join us for our ChaiT. Welcome. Please join us for our ChaiT with Dr. D live session on immune system, allergies, and why are we allergic to some things. Welcome, Dr. Atul, Dr. Bhakti, the Homeopathy Ayush organization. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join. In the meantime, if there are any questions that you would want us to answer, please go ahead. Hi, Anita, thank you for telling people they must attend this. Yvonne, it's a nice November, nice day. Weather's getting cooler. We've got our favorite kite that used to come into our garden and drink water there's like one mud pot we kept here, and it disappeared through the monsoon and it's back again. I think it was a baby when it would come, and now it's kind of grown up and it barely fits in it. It was beautiful to see. I tried to click to show you, but it moved in too quickly. We've also did the proving of the eagle, and we're going to be putting up all our provings very quickly now, both on a repertory program as well as on our website, so it's accessible to everybody. Vani, welcome. Again, if there are any questions that you want me to answer now or later, do put them on. I'm just waiting for a few more minutes for some more people, because if people are like me and not tech savvy, sometimes it just takes it a little longer to join in. So Dr. Kirtan from the Asha Homeopathic Academy, very nice things on your site that we watch as well. Just giving it exactly 1 more minute, and I'm very excited I'm always excited, but I am excited about today's session because I think that, sometimes we as homeopaths, or even when we understand things as patients, sometimes we get a wrong concept about things, and this can affect our perception or how we treat our health problems. And therefore, without further ado, let me start with our today's session on It's Not Them, It's You. What is an allergy? Now, our body has protective immune system responses, which are really fabulously protective. If our body is exposed to things that are harmful to us, dust, mites, mold or fungi, or chemicals that can harm our system, IgE antibodies are produced in our body, each different antibody for the different organism. This antibody produces histamine, the chemical, which produces all our itchy, running nose, swelling. But we react to these things. All of us may react, to a lot of dust, a lot of fungi. But in most of us, we react only when it goes above the threshold, when it is above a certain concentration. So allergies are, one, when people react to things which are not usually a problem to others, but they become a problem to the person who has allergies. Or second, they react to things even in a lesser concentration, which others would react to only if the concentration was high or the concentration goes above this threshold. Now, unfortunately, the common perception of allergies is people say, oh, shall I go and do the patch test? Shall I do this allergy test? And in my allergy test, look, I'm allergic to oranges, peanuts, milk, tomato. So we run away from these things and say, avoid this, avoid this, avoid this, avoid this, change your lifestyle. Reality check. It's not them, it's you. The problem is not the orange, the tomato, the peanuts. So running away may temporarily help, but it is not the solution. The solution is your immune system is wrongly activated. We need to correct that so that our system doesn't respond to these poor innocent things as if they were problems attacking our system. And homeopathy and the homeopathic remedy does that. But the very interesting thing is, why has this immune system got wrongly activated? I had explained this in an earlier live session. The person who taught us how our systems get activated first was Ivan Pavlov from Russia, where what he did is he took a dog, gave the dog food, activating natural salivation. This is a response that is normal for everybody. You see food and there will be salivation. Now what he did is, every time he gave this dog food, he rang a bell on the side. And this he repeated. Then after some repetitions, he took away the food. See, the food has vanished from the circuit. And only rang the bell. Which, if we as human beings, dogs, rabbits, you ring bells, nothing happens to their digestive system. It doesn't get activated. But in this conditioned dog, now with his messed up system, the bell activated the same salivation. The person who did this again was Adder. He took a group of rats, injected them with a strong anti-cancer drug, a chemical that drops the immune response, which is okay. This is the normal thing. It will happen to everybody. Now what he did is he added saccharin to the equation, which is a simple, non-problematic thing, does not drop the immune response. So what he did is, every time he would give this strong cancer drug, he also put saccharin on the rat's tongue. And he repeated this. Then what he did, just like what Pavlov did it, he removed this anti-cancer drug. And now to these rats, he only would put saccharin on their tongue. Now in normal response of saccharin on your tongue, my tongue, rat, rabbit, nothing happens to our immune response. But these rats, where the saccharin had been paired with the cancer drug, now on removal of the cancer drug, they were getting activated towards this saccharin in the same way, causing a drop in the immune response. This is how the immune response gives an inappropriate reaction to items around us that normally don't create a problem. So bringing it back to the real life situation, here is this child. This child in his backyard would play every day in his backyard. Nobody else used this backyard. It was like a dump. Cement bags would be there. All construction equipment was constantly there, either from their house or the neighboring house. But this kid loved to play in all this junk. Now, he would play and his little cars would go under this cement bag, and he would push that cement bag to bring the car out, and cement dust would fly. And the response was natural, like you and I as well. If cement dust flew into our faces and nose, he sneezed. But once the cement dust settled, he was okay. Now, coincidentally, this backyard, apart from the junk, had one tomato plant. The mother was a to-be gardener, tried to grow other stuff like me, like lemon, bindi, nothing grew, but the tomatoes grew. So there was always this tomato plant in the background. So recurrently in this child's life were repeated episodes of sneezing due to some dust or mold or cement when he would play in this backyard. A constant innocent bystander was this tomato plant. Please excuse our spelling, but this tomato plant was this innocent bystander repeatedly there in the presence of the actual allergent. And thus, like what happened in the Pavlov experiment and adder experiment, this child's immune system now gets altered. It now will give us an inappropriate response. So later in life, when this child was exposed to tomatoes in any form, just tomatoes, it would trigger in him sneezing, allergy, running nose, like as if he was being exposed to that whole cement thing, whereas there was no cement dust, it was just the tomato. This is the flaw in the neural network of the brain that controls this automatic system. And this is how we would develop allergies to some specific items. And then we think, oh, these items are a problem. What we don't realize is, somewhere in our childhood, this item was paired with an actual allergen, a problem that actually created an allergy situation. Now that messed up our immune system, whereby the immune system now thinks the allergen, the actual allergen, which was the cement dust, and this tomato are the same thing. And therefore later in life, with only the tomatoes, gives the same kind of response. This is how we develop allergies to specific items. And we somewhere get into that thought process that the item is the problem and my solution is stay away from this item. Sure, temporarily, it's good to stay away from them, but the actual solution is take the homeopathic remedy, whereby in our process we understand, go to the childhood, and we recognize what item was around that paired and what remedy we can give to break this particular system. Now I'm going to show you, and I hope that video works, an actual patient who, and I'm very grateful to her, Dipti, to agree to come and share her own experience, which was a very good learning experience for me as well. Please do tell me.
So for the longest time, I used to really hate the fragrance of cardamom, and it used to make me feel really sick and nauseous. And I remember sharing with you, Dr. Divya, that cardamom is used so often in Indian homes and tea and so many dishes that it used to really get to me every day, and I thought I'd never get over this feeling. And then one day my grandmom was in the hospital and I was there, and out of nowhere I got this memory of when my granddad had passed away, and I was very, very young, so I didn't understand what had happened. And I got the image of the room being really empty and the furniture being pushed back, and his picture was there. And since I didn't understand what had happened, I had pointed out at his picture and I asked my family members, like, was it him? And when they said yes, I realized that there was an incense stick around his picture that had the fragrance of cardamom. And then Dr. Divya, you explained to me that cardamom wasn't the problem. It was just that it was around that day when I felt emotions that weren't very good. And it worked as a trigger. And since that day when the linkage broke and I realized that cardamom wasn't the problem, I didn't have a problem with the fragrance of it or the taste of it. And now I have cardamom like twice a day, every day, and it's one of my favorites. So for the longest time, I really hate the
I'm just waiting for the plane to go by so I can once again relive, because to do it for me as well, each time I do it gives me that resonating experiences of, oh my God, like this is how it happens. So like I do to every patient in a case taking, I explain how our systems get altered using Pavlov and Adder. And I had done this in her case when I had first done the session. One day she came up to me and said, you know, Dr. Divya, you remember I had in my initial case taking told you how every time I would smell or eat, or even if I didn't know there was cardamom in something, it would create this pukey, vomity like feeling. And I didn't know what to do because there's cardamom in Indian food all the time in my house. Everybody loved cardamom. And anywhere I would go, even if, I'm definitely choosing things that don't have cardamom, but if there was some cardamom, I would get this nauseous and pukey feeling. So it was like a constant phenomenon. Now, one day, her grandmother was sick. And she was quite sick and for some time was in the hospital. So every day Dipti would go and sit outside the ICU to look after and see what was happening. Now, one day while she sat there, obviously illness of one grandparent triggered a flashback in her. And again, I have in an earlier Instagram told you about flashbacks. So the flashback comes from the memory of our life, the movie of our life that is stored in this same part of the brain where this whole drama happens as Instagram photos and video clips. So the one grandparent being ill, triggered and opened that scene as a flashback. And suddenly the scene where her grandfather, who had expired when she was very little and she fully didn't understand, but the visual was of this room which was emptied, like beds pushed back, and somewhere at a distance on a table far was a picture, and being small she couldn't even see who it was. But she pointed to that picture and said, is this him? Is this him? And in her little child may understood something bad had happened. Emotions always overwhelm her and she gets that sick, pukey feeling. So obviously she felt that feeling at that time. What she did not remember all these years, because our conscious brain edits what it considers unimportant stuff in the background. So she remembered the death of her grandfather, her grief. But in this flashback, what also emerged, because flashback is the actual visual, is that while this whole thing was happening, there was the incense stick burning in the room, which had the fragrance and flavor of cardamom. Now, suddenly, in that moment with the flashback, she recognized that somewhere with this whole emotional component and that nauseous, sick feeling, this cardamom got associated with it, though it was not connected to the event in any way. It was not by itself a problem in any way. And as she described it so beautifully and clearly, hers was an actual real life scenario that of course only validated the experiments of these scientists. So if we are to understand what happened, is that at this moment, there's a little child and the child is feeling pukey because she's overwhelmed with emotion. There is a grandfather she's very close to who's passed away. Whether she understands that, but she knows something has happened. Empty room, beds pushed away, people sitting on white sheets. And in the background is an incense stick with the smell of cardamom. Now this, when translated into our conscious memory, in the front part of our brain, logical thinking brain, now that part of the memory only edits out the rest of the background. It only holds the main summary of the event, which is, I'm small, grandfather expired, everybody was sitting in this room, and I remember how I felt, and I was so close to my grandfather, and all the memories of the grandfather. That's it. The cardamom in the background, that there was white sheets, all this is deleted from the conscious memory. But later in life, every time she was exposed to cardamom, she would get nausea, sick, vomity feeling, and no idea why this is happening, because there's no conscious memory. Until one day, as she is sitting in the hospital with one sick grandparent, comes the flashback where that reel from her life opens. Now, that's not a memory. That's a replay of the actual movie and that scene. In that scene, everything related to our five senses will be there. The visual, smells, sounds, every little thing in the background would be just as it is. And as soon as that happened, post that, by the way, she realized, and she said, after this, the negative reaction to the cardamom disappeared. She no longer has an aversion, in fact, loves it now. Twice a day she has it in her tea. What happens here? This, and that's why it is said, awareness is cure. What does that mean? There's an automatic brain, there's a conscious brain. Conscious brain, neocortex, thought, emotion, reasoning, logic, right and wrong, the editor. Automatic brain, movie of our life, whatever has happened, automatic responses, not in our control. We don't consciously remember what's happening there. Now, the moment in this instance, the conscious brain recognizes, because now that scene which was in the automatic brain comes in front in the conscious brain as well. And the conscious brain realizes that, array, in this response where I was upset, where there was this whole sick, emotional, overwhelmed response, there was this cardamom incense at that time. Immediately the conscious brain, therefore, will edit out this cardamom from the circuit, because that's what the conscious brain does. It inhibits wrong responses. Like in our life, you have a thought, you have some desire to do something, and then your conscious brain tells you, nay, you should not do this, it's not good for you. Oh, you are angry and you want to hit somebody, but your conscious brain tells you, no, police will catch you, you will get into trouble, and you inhibit your response. So the natural response of your conscious brain is to inhibit things that are wrong or harmful. So the moment the conscious brain now becomes aware, because all this while, the conscious brain did not even remember that this cardamom got wrongly associated with this emotional moment, and now it's creating this constant response. No memory of it. When the flashback comes, and with that flashback coming, the conscious brain sees that image as well, and now recognizes, array, this cardamom was in the background when some main strong event was happening. That main event had the nausea, sick feeling. The cardamom merely got linked to it. And the result is later in life, cardamom is creating the problem, but the conscious mind recognizes cardamom is the wrong stimulus which the body is reacting to. Its presence in this circuit is just a coincidental chance and a flaw, and therefore every time now this same circuit starts, the conscious mind inhibits it. No. Cardamom is not the problem. And therefore, our patient and our colleague, therefore, no longer now responded anymore to the cardamom because her conscious brain recognized, oh, this was the flaw in the circuit, right? And this, therefore, is the story of how our immune response wrongly acts against things, and we think they are the problem. We think the allergen is the problem. Whereas that poor, innocent, non-allergent has become the problem because of this flaw in our automatic brain system. To summarize that flaw, when our neural circuit of this automatic brain, where there are these different circuits controlling digestion, breathing, heart, immune system, they have a particular pattern of running that we are born with. They respond to certain things correctly. If coincidentally in childhood, there is a response of these systems where repeatedly some innocent thing which doesn't create any response is there in the background, same time, same place, repeatedly, it becomes incorporated in the system. And now our system is responding to this innocent thing like it is a problem. This is not retained in our conscious memory. If it was, the conscious memory would have deleted this, would have removed this system. But it's not in our memory. And therefore, if we need to recognize this, concentrate on your flashbacks, concentrate on your dreams. And when we as homeopaths open the childhood, we therefore open the movie of your life and tell you, focus on the visuals, because those Instagram photos and YouTube videos are coming from this part of the brain, not the stored written memory which is there as a summary, because this is edited. And therefore, this then is the story of our allergies, and the purpose here is shift the focus from saying these things are the problem to my immune system is wrongly responding to these poor innocent things as if they are problems. And therefore, the correction has to happen within me, in my immune system. That will become the first step of opening the door for your awareness to happen either by itself or through the homeopathic remedy. So that's our today's Insta live session on ChaiT with Dr. D. And once again, my chai has become cold, but it's still very good. And now any questions or comments or experiences that you've had that you might want to share with us, please feel free to join for that. Please feel free to put in your questions. Please feel free to want to join and share your experience. Have any of you, if you look back, have you recognized coincidentally that, I react to this particular thing, but that was kind of linked to something else? Or you realize that you are reacting to some normal things which are not problems, but you are thinking they are the problem. Any questions? Do we have any questions, Dr. Chandni? Do you see any questions? No comment. There was one comment that somebody made when we started this topic, and when I said the topic is it's not you, it's me. And they said, does this have a deeper meaning? And the answer is yes. Because while the focus here is on allergy, this is also true for our responses in general. Most of the time, when we react to things outside, we say, I only got angry, I only got upset because she did this, or he did this, or the world is like that, or traffic is like that, or dunya aisi hai, politics, politicians, government, ta 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 ta. What we are not recognizing is, while yes, they may be there, but is our response beyond an exaggerated response? Which means, are we responding even when it's below the threshold? Are we responding to things that are otherwise some days we don't respond to, we are okay, and suddenly some days we respond? If that is happening, then recognize that something around must be an innocent trigger, triggering some response that got conditioned from your childhood. Especially in moments when sometimes you have a response and you say, I don't know why I got so upset. I don't know what came over me. Those responses are triggered by some item in the background that can trigger these responses. How do I solve it? Of course, homeopathy. The other way is beginning to put a little awareness into our automatic brain. And that's another question that was asked. Can I solve this problem for myself? And yes, one way is gradually to bring more awareness about what is happening in this automatic brain. How does this awareness happen? Understand the language of this part of the brain. The language of this brain is not thought and emotion, but your 5 senses. So as we take moments in our day to take a moment, ground ourselves and focus on the 5 senses, focus on backgrounds of what is happening, things will come up into our consciousness and into our awareness. But the first step to this is recognizing that it's not them, it's you. And with that, we end today's live session on allergies and the general theme of it's not them, but it's you. Join us again once a month for our Insta live session, as well as follow us regularly on understanding more about your health, your brain, the beauty and the interesting flaws and amazing machinery of your brain and its interplay with your daily life. For that can completely change the way your body responds to things, as well as the way you live your life with full consciousness and awareness. So thank you everybody for joining us, and see you again on ChaiT with Dr. D.